Hello, brethren and guests, and welcome to the District 8 Freemasons of Washington Roundtable Discussion, a casual conversation around Freemasonry. It is important to note that our thoughts and opinions are our own and do not reflect those of the Grand Lodge of Washington, our respective craft, or any concordant bodies. Welcome back, brethren and guests, and unfortunately, in my first attempt to record our new sessions, I did not get the record started until about halfway through this one. So unfortunately, well, that's where we're going to pick up, and we'll try to do better next time.
To interpret what Freemasonry is. And that is our job as mentors, to point this new man, this new Mason, to those resources, to the good resources, the ones that we found valuable, so that he can start walking the path to knowledge on his own, right? We're not spoon feeding him or walking the path for him, but we have to, at least as mentors, be able to point him on a path so that he can learn and discover what Freemasonry means to him for himself. So I think that those are the two things that we need to always ensure that we're doing if we get a new man into our lodges. We have got to use the opportunity of mentorship and proficiency requirements to actually bond with that new man. And instead of figuring out the easiest, cheapest, craziest way to do it, we need to figure out how we're going to use that to spend time with him, to start to build those bonds of friendship within the other members of the lodge. And secondly, we need to be able to put him on a path so that he can discover what Masonry means to him. If we do those things, we're going to keep him. And if we do those things and we keep him, and we start trading off success, then Masonry is going to grow. But if we aren't willing to do those things, the slow collapse that we've been going through, it's just going to continue. You know, and I just, in closing, want to think back to my own time, you know, joining the lodge. And I remember Andre and I, we spent hours talking, drinking his scotch. Steve and I spent a lot of time together. Larry used to drive me just about everywhere. I'm not sure how I lived through that experience, but you know, that time is what holds a man. And I just feel that in virtually all cases, we're not devoting that time to the new men of our lodge. With that, I'll shut up, but I thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you, Cameron. You know, I'm going to need you to start over from the beginning because I forgot to hit the record button. But so no, great talk, Cameron. It's always good to hear you. So I'll open it up if anybody has any questions. Just hit the little hand raise thing on there, or any comments. I'll see if I can keep track of. Let's see, anybody? Oh, there, I got somebody. Hold on, here we go. Okay, Bud, go ahead. Let's see. Try to unmute, Bud. I can't do it for some reason. There you go. Go ahead.
Okay, now you can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, when you're talking about working with somebody, going through the degrees, when they talk about the Order of the Garter and the Golden Fleece, I'd divert from the ritual and teaching them and explain to them what the Order of the Garter, how it started, what it means, and it's the highest civilian ward in the English monarchy, being in the Golden Fleece, how it came to be. And the things as you go through, I divert from all of that and talk to the person about it, and they begin to feel a little more kinship and a little more interest, and you can tell that. And possibly we could get the collective experience of people together and put out a supplement for the teaching the posting lecture, explaining what the things are that are within it, you know, because I know I've gotten comments about this makes more sense, or I understand it better. It works to attract them. And the second thing on it is on mentorship. My father, my two grandfathers, my four great-grandfathers are all Masons. And that wasn't why I joined the lodge. A good friend of my father was a Mason, and when I was 14, 15, 16 years old and living in a rural environment, farming, he worked with me a lot to point out to me that there was no future in farming and that at my age, not to waste my life. And when I got older, and I mean, even at 20 and 21 and 22, I realized what he was talking about and went an entirely different path. And I still identify myself as a farm boy from Illinois, but I'm a long ways from there, both career-wise and location. So anyway, that's just my thoughts.
Well, and you know, I've been talking about that as kind of the same thing as I've been going around to the district meetings about, you know, not just coaching somebody to memorize the words, but like you said, the Star and Garter and those, you know, those other things, explain to them what those mean, and then let them decide what it means to them.
Yep.
Chris Goodwin. Let me try to unmute you here. There you go. Go ahead.
All right. So for those of you that don't know me, I am pretty new to Washington State and not a member of any lodge here yet. So I get to have a little bit different perspective. I've recently moved from Wisconsin. And one of the differences that I've noticed in the move is that the position that I actually held in my lodge for 2 of the last 3 years was a position called counselor. And it doesn't appear that Washington has that position, but it is essentially a designated mentor, if you will. And we're kind of the first person to start working with new candidates after each of their degrees. And it was interesting listening to the talk here. I think Wisconsin is kind of in the mid-range of what he was talking about in terms of the way our ancient brethren did it versus the way it sounds like Washington does it now. We do have posting materials that are not specifically the entire lectures. We have some material that they do at home and on their own, but there's a fair amount of it that's excerpted from the ritual and the obligations that they're memorizing, and they're working with the counselor or in some lodges, you know, with another brother. And so I've had the experience of doing that mentorship, if you will. Maybe not quite the way our ancient brethren did it, but I guess I just wanted to say, yes, I think it's very effective. And also, not only is it great for the brother coming in, but you know, it's great for the mentor as well. I have learned so much from the questions that the candidates have asked me and thinking about things that way and teaching them. It's very rewarding, and you know, I couldn't agree more that it's very important. So just a little from another state.
Yeah, welcome to Washington. We look forward to the social distancing getting over so we can actually get out and shake hands.
Yeah.
Andre, there you go. You're unmuted.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I want to kind of take what Bud said and what Cameron said and combine them together a little bit, because like what Bud said, it's really important that, as you guys know, at Salt Monroe, we do a mentoring class, if you will, for anyone going through the degrees twice a week, or twice a month, every other Thursday. And in those sessions, when I'm with a candidate or an entered apprentice, for example, as Bud said, you want to explain to them what the things mean, but like Cameron said, you want them to learn to seek out knowledge themselves. So rather than just say, hey, this is what the Star and Garter is, and this is what the Golden Fleece is. At the end of the Thursday session, I will say, okay, your homework assignment is go find out what is the Golden Fleece, what is the Roman Eagle, and what was their significance. Now they have to leave and go figure out what that was. And why is it important in the ritual? And that way, you're giving them that added information of the significance of what's in the ritual, but you're making them look for it, which is, again, what Cameron was trying to point out. You know, let's instill in people the idea that knowledge is there. You have to seek it out. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and I do think, like I said, it's important that you explain the symbols and allegory to them, but yet it's up to them to decide what it means to them. Let's see, Sam.
Well, thank you. So I'm going to build a little bit on what Cameron and Andre and Bud have all said. It's interesting, and Cameron, thank you so much for emphasizing mentorship above coaching. But I believe that a lot of us too often try and do a little bit of both and kind of forget that they really are separate items. So Cameron, in regard to they have to find their own path, that's great, but we should lead them and not push them. So if they need to find the meaning of masonry to themselves, and I mean meaning of masonry within each of the symbols and all the symbology that's available, if you just say here's the path and try and push them forward, they're going to miss. They're going to miss the path. They're going to wander off the path that you won't know because you're behind them. In my opinion, and it's strictly my opinion, you've got to lead these Masons, and I don't mean just new Masons. I mean our brothers, all of our brothers. And I would say the way to do that is to say what the square and compasses mean to me. The 3 steps, what does that mean to me? Now, I would always caveat that saying, and you should look this stuff up as well and see that either you agree with or don't agree with. Maybe you find meaning on your own. The failing I think we have is that too many of us really don't have an idea of what the 3 steps mean to ourselves. We know it's symbolic. We know that it should mean something to us. And if we've heard anything from somebody in the past, well, we just kind of blindly accept that because that's the easy way and go forward. And we spread that. Whereas if we do our own research first, we would be in a much better position to lead as a mentor as opposed to push as a coach.
Thanks, Sam. Cameron, you got anything more to add to that?
No, I think everything everybody said is extremely valuable. You know, when Bud was speaking, I was thinking about the book Morals and Dogma, right? Because that's an almost impossible book to read if you're reading the old version. But so the Scottish Rite then, and what Bud suggested was that maybe we come out and create something that explains what the Star and Garter or the Golden Fleece are, and I think there's a lot of value to that, right? Because so Scottish Rite a few years ago, they came out with a new version of Morals and Dogma that's much easier to read because the text is the same, but they added footnotes so extensive that it actually explains the old myths and stuff that we didn't learn about in school and aren't familiar with. And so there's a great deal of value to that. And I think, you know, Sam is exactly right. To mentor is to lead. You know, we don't want to ever just push these guys off. We want to be an example and stand so that they can look to us for knowledge and emulation and you know, just on a personal level, I think, you know, Sam has filled that role for me in my own Masonic journey. You know, I've always looked up to you, Sam, and you're sort of my vision of what a Mason is and should be.
Oh my God, you're in trouble.
And I think, you know, that's what mentorship is at its core in a lot of ways, is just setting that example, you know, for the man who might be looking at us and we might not even know that he's looking to us. Thanks, Steve.
Sam, even a bad example has value.
And here I am for you.
So John, you look like you're trying to figure out how to raise your hand. I'm gonna unmute
Right.
you. Do you? Would you like to comment?
I have a few comments because I've been listening and you know, being an old part Mason, I remember those 1969. I took my first degree and I was overwhelmed when I went to Grand Lodge. It was standing room only, and it was just unbelievable. And it was all in the old Masonic Grand Lodge down there in Tacoma. But what I'm trying to get to is the new Canada education program was put together to add to the posting lecture. And I don't think we've ever taught it properly to our mentors in our lodges who carry on or work with us, with the candidates as they go through. And then also as you carry on past that, you know, I've been teaching a class in the Master Craftsman for Scottish Rite. You don't have to be a Scottish Rite to take it. And we're getting ready to do another class in the fall. But I sit back and I look and I'm just overwhelmed with the amount of knowledge that's imparted by that program. And yeah, it requires work. It goes back to what Cameron and everybody else is trying to say. It's something you have to do for yourself if you want to reach out and get that knowledge. It's not free. You have to do some heavy thinking and sweating. And I like to think as we get ready to start this next class that I have several brothers now who are more mentors that are willing to share that knowledge and work with people throughout our grand jurisdiction. And that's what Masonry is all about, is learning. And I'm still learning. And that's what I wanted to part to the brothers.
Well, and I think it's also important to note, you know, Larry and I have talked about it, and Cameron and I have talked about it, and I think I've talked about it with Sam and probably Dean. Everybody is you know, we're trying to learn how to become mentors when some of us don't feel like we were mentored to begin with, and so I was coached very well, but I don't feel like I was mentored, and so it's hard to mentor somebody else when you have not been mentored yourself. And I think that's some of the problem that we're having, and why we, as Cameron said, people have not mentored in so long that we've kind of lost that art, and we're trying to get it back. I'm trying to get it back. Dean's laughing at me. Let's see. Anybody else? Okay. Well, somebody got something? Nope, just must be me. Okay. So Cameron, again, on behalf of District 8, we miss you up here. And it was nice to have you back for this evening, and we appreciate you taking the time out to talk to all of us. And one thing that I would like to do, as I said in my email, and if hopefully everybody got the message, is before we close tonight, I've seen the thing going around social media about the toast to the absent brethren. So if you have a glass with you, go ahead and get your glass. If you don't have a glass, we'll give you a minute to go get one. Hold on a second. Bud, what do you got?
Nothing. I just had the thumbs up rather than the hand up.
Oh, I thought you were raising your hand. All right, so we'll give you a couple minutes. Everybody grab your glass.
Steve, I couldn't unmute myself. Can you hear Ed?
Oh yeah, hey Ed, how you doing?
Well, I just wanted to talk. I couldn't. This is all new to me, and I have a lot of trouble negotiating what the heck's going on. But
okay,
I just wanted to, at the beginning of this meeting and the talk with Cameron that my mentors, and we got together and we walked and went to places around us a number of times and walked for miles, going over and over the information that I needed to become a good Mason. And that was a great mentor. And now I'm still with it 23 years later.
excellent.
Guess that's all I got to say.
Well, thanks, Ed. Actually, I do. I guess Sam does have another question, or is that an old message?
No, it's a new one, and
Okay,
it doesn't
go
have
ahead.
anything to do with our discussion. But I'd like to know what has the executive committee really talked about in the event that Grand Lodge is going to be outlawed?
Oh, sorry, Cameron, I got you muted here. There you go.
So yeah, as you can imagine, we have been talking about that quite a little bit these last few weeks. We are still holding out hope that we won't be still in this crisis by the time it starts. We have decided to put off registration for 2 weeks. Normally we'd open that April 1. But we were putting that off for 2 weeks. If the annual communication can't be held, I don't think that the Grand Master has made any firm decisions yet, but I think what he's leaning towards is taking the non-essential or emergent resolutions, placing them on the following year's calendar, and then opening Grand Lodge with the minimum amount of business that needs to be done and conducting it via video conferencing, just as we're doing here. That's how I think he's leaning at this time.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. I suspect that even if we have Grand Lodge on time in June, that the attendance is still going to be very, very light. And so I got into a conversation with one of the other jurisdictions who are facing the same dilemma.
Yeah.
We solved all your problems. Of course, it took a couple of beers to do that, but what we thought is that the Grand Secretary, as he sends out the resolutions and the candidates, would also send out for each officer, each lodge officer, and all the past masters and anyone that was eligible to vote, send them out a key that they could go online and cast their ballots for candidates as well as resolutions. And that in the event in that event, about the only business the Grand Lodge really would have would be the reading of the reports, and that can come out later.
Yes. Yeah, and I appreciate the key idea. We had talked about, we know we need secure voting. We talked about different ways to pull that off. I don't think the Grandmaster's made any decision yet. I think you're correct that even if the current situation is largely concluded by the time of the annual communication, our numbers will probably be down. My understanding is that we're a little more lucky this year in that the minimums at Great Wolf are not nearly as high as they are at some of the other places that we've had this. So we don't need as many folks to meet those minimums. So, but as I understand it, if we were to cancel on Great Wolf and then the governor removes all the restrictions, then we would be on the hook for quite a lot of cash. It's my understanding anyway.
I'll put on my my right worshipful brother Chris Kaufman hat and say, Sam, there are no candidates.
And be transparent.
All right, and with that, to the brethren that are not with us, our absent brethren, whether it be the journey has ended or they have joined the Supreme Architect, or whether they be at home or on the road, wherever they may be, we toast them to our absent brethren.
So
To our absent brethren.
And with that, that wraps it up for tonight, gentlemen and brethren. I appreciate y'all being here, and our next one is
Where you go? Yeah, okay.
go ahead, Andre.
I was going to say the next session will be Thursday. I'll be leading a session on prayer in lodge. And on all the announcements I've seen sent out, I didn't see anybody send the attachment I sent. So I'll send that out to everybody tonight.
Okay. Go ahead, Scott.
I just had a quick question for Cameron. What are the minimums at this point at Great Wolf? What lodging requirements do they have for us?
So, excuse me, I don't have the specifics. That was reserved before I became involved with the Grand Lodge. We reserve those facilities years in advance. But the minimums relate to how many rooms we have to rent and how many meals we have to sell. So I don't know what the absolute numbers are, but I'm told that they are lower than they have been at the facilities we've used recently.
All right.
Thank you.
Also, we got in the chat, if anybody is interested, in about 7 minutes, it looks like District 2 has a fellowship Zoom meeting starting up as well. So again, thank you all for joining us tonight, and I look forward to Thursday's conversation with Andre. And then we've got SLOC on Saturday we're doing on this as well. And then next Thursday, a week from Thursday, we have Most Worshipful Brother Jim Mendoza will be joining us, talking to us about the Conference of Grand Masters. And then the following Thursday after that, we have Very Worshipful Brother John Lawson from over in the Tri-Cities that will be joining us and talking to us about the anatomy of the closing charge. So I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks, and thank you all for joining. Have a good night.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cameron. Appreciate it.
Thank you.